Okay, so this is a video by TPS. This is one of those sports YouTube sports channels that does a lot of different sports related videos, rankings, top tens, a lot of different stories. They cover a lot of different topics. I got to be honest, most of their views on players or certain sports related events, I usually have an opposed view. I'm not saying that our views align in this video. Really, this is just a video of them showing the different reactions of NFL players to the heinous assault of Myles Garrett. And that's pretty much what that was, assault. Now, if I understand correctly, because some people keep saying that Mason Rudolph provoked him to the point where he felt like he had to physically assault this guy. Now, I mean, when you just look at the size difference, when you look at one player being probably, I mean, Mason Rudolph compared to Myles Garrett looks like a teenage kid, man. He looks small. So, other than kicking a guy in the nuts, which is that, if I understand correctly, that's apparently what happened. Other than kicking a guy in the nuts, there's not much that he can do to Myles Garrett that should hurt as much as smacking somebody on the top of their head with a football helmet. Now, football helmets, as you know, has a lot more protection involved with it, which means that it's a lot more padding inside, which means that it's heavier. They have to protect the head because the CTE shit is really catching up to the NFL, so they have to do everything they can to protect the head. Now, when Myles Garrett took his helmet off, that completely stripped away the protection. But then he used the protective gear to smack this guy, use it as a weapon on this guy, which is completely unacceptable. If I'm being honest, Myles Garrett should have been brought up on charges and possibly facing jail time. Seriously, because that's ridiculous. Now, people say that Mason Rudolph could have died if he would have been hit the right way. Mason Rudolph could have died. I'm thinking he probably would have been knocked the fuck out unconscious, possibly in a coma. I mean, with the way that Myles Garrett was hitting him. So, I don't know. And then the Okunjabi guy, number 65, he came in after Mason Rudolph got hit in the head and knocked him down to the ground. I don't know, man. This is just a messy situation. All I know is Myles Garrett should have been brought up on charges for that. Not just the suspension. He should have been suspended indefinitely and possibly brought up on charges. But I heard something about from somebody as far as sports media that said that Mason Rudolph possibly was thinking about filing charges, assault charges against. Well, that's aggravated assault. So I don't know, man. I think that should have happened. But let's get it going. We're gonna start it at the yeah, right. Oh no, we went too far. Sorry, right here. It's fine. That should have been at least a 4 game suspension because the altercation wasn't even with him. But then he comes in and he pretty much knocks the victim down to the ground. There should be more. Look, if he's not going to be brought up on charges, this should be a suspension that leads into next year. If I'm the NFL, I'm treating this as serious as those domestic violence cases that they take so seriously. And I'm possibly suspending this guy for an entire season. And then he would have to reinstate. Like that type of thing, man. Because that has to be taken very seriously. I mean, it's not enough to just suspend Myles Garrett for the year because Cleveland, if I'm being honest, the chances of them making the playoffs is not very good. So it's not like they're really missing out on anything. So I think making this bleed into next year is probably a good plan, man. But they already made their decision, you know. Now, real quick, I'm not going to stop at every one of these tweets, but there are some tweets that I wanted to give my thoughts on. Now, right here, this is what I'm saying. Like, criminal charges should have been brought up because that is, bro, just the level of danger. If this would have went, if this would have went the way it could have went, and it would have went bad, it could have been really bad. So I don't know. This has to be stopped, and the only way that you can stop behavior from like this from happening again is if you go to the extreme, because this is an extreme situation. Go to the extreme with the punishment, man. I'm fine with Marquise Pouncey not. Well, I'm fine with him avoiding suspension. I believe he got suspended, but I'm fine with him not getting suspended and then just taking like a fine because he did what any good teammate should do. And that's go to bat for your quarterback, man. That's go to bat for your quarterback, especially when it's a situation like this. Hold on, because I didn't see this second tweet right here. Now, Mason Rudolph, if what people are saying that he did is true, he should be suspended as well. I would even say because he did if he kicked him in the groin area, he should be suspended for the year and fined. But Myles Garrett should be significantly penalized because what he did was more egregious. You know, like it just was more egregious. So, but I would agree that Mason Rudolph not fined, just I don't think just fined. He should be suspended as well because if he did what he did in a provoking manner, he should be punished for that. Now, this is what I wanted to get to right here. All right. I guess his name is pronounced Jamie. I guess that's how you pronounce Jamie in that way. This guy Jamie, he said, "Joe, I love you, man, but Rudolph grabbed Garrett's helmet, twisted his neck. Now we've seen Mason Rudolph. Now, if unless he's deceptively, and I say deceptively like that because I mean extremely, like if he's deceptively strong." And he was able to do that's a significant amount of damage to Myles Garrett, who Myles Garrett is bigger, thicker than he is. If he was able to do that amount of damage, then yeah, I probably would go on I probably would go to bat more for Myles Garrett. But I don't think that he's that strong that he could, unless he took his helmet off and swung it at him. I don't see any reason for Myles Garrett to take his helmet off. At least if he ripped his helmet off and just throw it to the ground, that's fine. That's a more appropriate way, even though that's still probably a fine and maybe a suspension. But that's a more appropriate way to deal with that situation. But he swung it at him. He turned it into a weapon. That's the problem. All right. So the guy says he twisted his neck, which could have killed him. Kneed him in the nuts and screamed obscenities in his face. Garrett ripped his helmet off. Then Rudolph came at him. You can't say Rudolph. Jesus. I don't know. I think the way this guy's spelling it is making me almost mispronounce it. Rudolph wasn't equal in this. It's not equal. It's not equal at all. I mean, it's like my nephew who's 3 years old and I'm like 4 times bigger than he is, coming at me, punching me in my face, and doing all this stuff. And for me to have this guy's thinking, I would be well in my rights to swing off on him and start punching him the way he was punching me. In no way is that equal. That's not equal at all. I mean, the level of danger has to be taken into consideration. Now, what Rudolph has to be held accountable for is the provocation aspect of it. He needs to be held accountable for that. But we cannot try to absolve Myles Garrett by saying he was provoked into doing what he did. I mean, plenty of people are provoked every day in their life to do very violent shit to people. But there are people that don't do those things. They either ignore the situation, they walk away, or they find a way to better handle the situation. Now, you do have some people that will take it to those lengths, but you have some people that are more mature about the situation. Now, I don't know, if Myles Garrett was smarter, he probably would have gotten the attentions of the ref, maybe notified the NFL, possibly got like some kind of I don't know, some kind of, I guess, late situation type suspension. Like, tried to do something to fight the fact that Mason Rudolph did all those things to him. Instead of retaliating with, I'm going to take your helmet off and I'm going to hit you in your fucking head with it and possibly put you in a coma. I don't know. It's different, man, because he handled it the way he handled it. Now, Joe Thomas said he was not equal. Everything that preceded the helmet swing doesn't matter. Now, that's the part I don't agree with right there. I seriously don't agree with that. It's like these domestic violence situations where, like let's take the Ray Rice situation as an example. Ray Rice was being swung on, spit on, like he was just being smacked all around. But he put her down with one hit. And it was like nothing she did before then mattered. Nothing that happened before that one swing mattered because he hit her. That is not, look, in hockey, you get penalized for provoking. Provoking is considered a foul in hockey. I think provoking is very important. To punish the provoker is very important because it encourages that kind of behavior in the future if you let it go. And I think Mason Rudolph should be punished for that. But it still doesn't change what Myles Garrett did. That's my point. And I don't agree with this, that nothing before that happened. Bill Burr, comedian, great comedian, had a great bit on that. And it just should be acknowledged that that is a very true statement, that we just ignore what happened before the big blowout, and we just completely absolve the provoker. So I don't know, man. I'm a huge believer in that. See, all right, that last tweet. I don't understand why people think that if you do something bad to somebody, that saying sorry should absolve you from any punishment or any ridicule in any way, or you should just be let off the hook. I mean, apologizing is just your way of trying to look contrite after being caught. That doesn't mean that you're actually sincere. That just means that you got caught and you want people to think that you're sincere. Trying not to do shit like that is a way to avoid being sorry or apologetic, because, having more self-control is saving you in that situation. He didn't have self-control. He let his emotions get the best of him, and he's paying for those. And that's what I was think. That's what I was thinking at first when I heard this was he should be suspended without pay. But I thought that was a little bit extreme. I thought significantly fining him and suspending him for an extended amount of time was a lot better. I think it's the team's responsibility to handle the whole payment aspect of it. But at first, that's what I thought when I first heard this. He should be suspended without pay. I wouldn't say that this isn't criminal because I mean, if he would have knocked him out unconscious and Mason Rudolph could have been bleeding from the head, I mean, we situations like these have to stop being judged on what happened and have to be looked in a more broad aspect, like what could have happened as well. Because if this would have ended up bad, I mean, it could have been some serious damage done to Mason Rudolph, man. I mean, like life threatening type shit, or at least career threatening. Definitely career threatening. And I think that should be taken into account, man. We got to stop judging things based on what actually happened and what didn't happen, and start looking at it from this could have ended up bad and trying to prevent it from happening in the future. Because if this is not considered criminal, then I don't know what the fuck this is, man. Because if I go after somebody with a fucking weapon and I start swinging on them, it's criminal, man. He used the helmet. Anything can be used as a weapon if you use it right. I mean, this should be considered a criminal offense, man, because it is. He's using a weapon to hit this guy with it. I mean, if it's happening in practice, that's just as bad. I mean, that shouldn't absolve him from that, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know. We're getting both aspects of. We're getting both sides of the fence defenses right now, where people are defending Mason Rudolph and they're defending Myles Garrett. To be honest, I think everybody should be suspended that was involved in any kind of wrongdoing in this situation, man. Everybody should be suspended and fined. I know 99.999% of people in the nation don't know Myles Garrett, which is probably true. But personally, knowing him as a human and not as a professional athlete, he would never do something like that. But he did do something like that. See, it's like those things that happen on the news where a kid will die or get shot or something like that, or a young man, or a guy anywhere between 14 to 25 that dies, and it's reported on the news, and you interview his family. He was a good boy. He never hurt nobody. He never wanted to hurt nobody. But apparently he was shot in some kind of gang-related incident. He was a straight-A student and all. So, bro, it doesn't matter what you believe this person is, man. It doesn't matter who you believe this person to be. All that matters is what he did or what he was involved in. And Myles Garrett was involved in a heinous act. I mean, I know some good people. I'm not going to say good. I know some decent people in the world. And even when situations get really bad, they don't react like this. So I don't know, man. We can't really. We have to only go off of what he's done, not what we believe him to be. But I'm done with this, man, because this is a really heinous situation. The punishments have been doled out. I think the punishment for Myles Garrett should be a lot more severe. I think Mason Rudolph should be punished in some way, like maybe a 4-game suspension and fined as significantly as you could fine him with the amount of money he makes. But you know, what's done is done. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. I would hate to turn on the news or something or watch ESPN or something like that and see that one of these players were killed because of something like this. Or, significantly physically armed or something. So hopefully they do a better job with policing this, because this is serious. All right.